argument that we can understand. And now I'd like to represent my friend Mr. Kelly from Pennsylvania and hear what he has to say on this interesting new challenge the Obama administration has given us.
Yeah, I thank the gentleman from Texas for yielding. You know, I come from a family that in 1953 started in the automobile business. My father came from being a parts picker for General Motors in a warehouse, surviving World War II, and then coming back home and starting his own dealership in 1953. So not only can I talk the talk, I've actually walked the walk. And when we sit back and we see what this administration is doing, while they say on one side they're very concerned with jobs and they're very concerned with the recovery of the automobile industry, they propose legislation that will take 7 million buyers out of the market. That is a staggering number of cars that we will not be able to build. If we can't build them, we don't need folks there in the factories. We don't want to mess with the fragile recovery that the automobile industry has right now. And again, as I said, having walked that walk and understanding the cost of these vehicles as they go up, it is a terrible thing that this administration is considering. Now, it does not surprise me, because we are talking about people who have never in their life actually had their own skin in the game. So when they talk about these measures that they're taking, when they talk about all these well-intentioned ideas, they forget that the ultimate sacrifice made is by the buyers, by the American consumer. We are going to raise the average cost of these vehicles by $3,200. As I said earlier, 7 million prospective buyers will not be in the market. We have jumped the standards that we had by 3 years. Now, I was there in the early 70s when the CAFE standards came into existence. The corporate average fuel economy had nothing to do with green energy, had nothing to do with a footprint, a carbon footprint. What it had to do was our reliance on foreign oil. We are making great strides in that effect. Now, I do know that my friends in the automobile manufacturing business have agreed to these new standards. I also know that there's so many resets in this new standard that they opted to go ahead along with this administration's directions and bought into this idea, knowing that each electric car that they built, which is subsidized by $7,500 in taxpayer funds, hard-working American families that pay their taxes, will not have the same benefit. The people buying these cars, the electric cars, the metrics of that is $175,000. That's their average income. So who are we appealing to? Now, we give the industry a double count on those. That's how they get to the 54.5 miles per gallon. And they understand with the resets that it's much easier to go along with this administration than to try to fight them up front. But I will tell you that my friends in the automobile dealer business, the folks that go to work every day, that have to put bread on the table, and in my dealership there's 110 folks that come in there every day to solve the needs, the transportation needs of the people in our community. Now, the other side of this is safety. When my wife and my 4 children get in their cars, and keep in mind there's 5 grandchildren involved now, we're going to start asking those folks to start driving lighter cars. Cars that will not be as safe as the cars we have on the road right now. And why? Because we are catering to an administration. We're catering to an administration that puts their agenda ahead of the American public safety. So I appreciate what the gentleman from Texas is doing. I understand the unintended consequences of this. And it's time for us to blow the whistle on an administration that refuses to acquiesce to what the public needs and continues to drive their own agenda. So I appreciate what you've done, and I yield back my time, sir.
And reclaiming my time, I'd like to ask the gentleman a question, because it just dawned on me the economics that you're describing here. We're not saying, what they're doing now is they're not saying, okay, we're going to make a Chevrolet pickup or a Ford pickup that gets 54.5 miles per gallon. What they're saying is, yeah, we still got a Ford pickup or a Chevrolet pickup or a Chrysler pickup that gets 20 miles, 18, 20 miles a gallon. But, hey, look at all these electric cars that don't use any gasoline, so we get an offset for those. And you said the market for these is people with the rich people. That 1% that everybody's complaining about,
exactly.
The only ones can afford to buy these electric cars.
And I would respond.
They're the market, and yet
absolutely.
That's how they get this number down, but it's not real. It's imaginary.
The loopholes in this program are not for the hardworking American families that go to work every day to support their kids and their families and their well-being. It's for folks that really don't buy these cars to drive, but they buy them because they can. We are giving people $7,500 in federal loopholes. And then, in my state of Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania throws another $3,500 towards the purchase of an electric car. Now, those cars, by the way, it's 200,000 cars per manufacturer, not 200,000 cars in total, 200,000 cars per manufacturers. The cost of this, as you see the trajectory of this expense, it goes off the charts. And the answer is, it is not going to improve fuel economy. What really drives fuel economy is the number of miles you drive each year and the cost of gasoline. So as they start to talk about, no, we've got to tell people that they can only drive a car that gets 54.5 miles per gallon. And you know, sir, as well as I do, that is not the case. We've been gamed again. I think the American people now, there should be an outrage over this. This is a regulation that does nothing but pushes an agenda and does not push the well-being of the American citizens.
That is a real eye-opener, and I thank you for explaining that. I didn't really get that concept. And so, in addition of playing games with numbers, we're subsidizing the playing games of numbers. But the federal government, and then in your state, your state also subsidizes it. I hope Texas doesn't, but heck, who knows?
Well, I appreciate the gentleman for bringing up this topic, and we have to understand that if we are really going to get this economy back on track, it is the people who make things, and we talk about made in America. If we're really trying to support the domestic automakers, then you don't raise the price of the car by $3,200. With each price increase, we eliminate somebody who would have bought a new car. As we eliminate the purchase of new cars, we also affect the long-range market for used cars. A new car eventually becomes a used car. We are eliminating transportation, personal transportation in this country by upping the bar in a systematic way, and people aren't noticing it. There should be an outrage among the hard-working American families who sometimes dad works 2 jobs, mom works a job, all to put food on the table, educate their children, and somehow get them from where they live to where they need to be, whether it be for their job or for education or for after-school activities. We are eliminating private transportation in this country by upping the price and making it impossible for the average American to own his own car.
That's shocking. And, I do remember that the car that we drive, that my wife and I are driving right now, cost more than our first 3-bedroom, 2-bath house that we purchased when our first 2 children were born.
Yeah.
That's kind of shocking as to what all these gamesmanship, how that can drive that price up. And I did have a person in the transportation business was telling me, I'm not going to disclose what it was, but he was saying they do studies on selling tickets to ride, it was the air industry, on a plane. And that their ticket price is the price at which they know people will fly. And they have done studies to determine, add $10 in some instances to that price, the ticket that people will fly, you lose like 18%. Absolutely. Add $50, you can lose half of your flying public. Now, that's how much the margin is, and you got the same kind of deal in the automobile industry.
It's all price point, and it's all affordability, and it comes down to how much per month does it cost for the average hardworking American family to keep private transportation. We are raising the price $3,200 per car. We are eliminating 7 million people, giving them the opportunity to own their own car, their own transportation, which has been the hallmark of this country and which has driven this economy for many, many years and allowed the people to move out of the cities into the suburbs because they had a way to get to work. They didn't have to rely on public transportation. In this country, it's very unique, is that you can get up in the morning and you can drive to wherever it is you want to go, and you can get there by yourself or with your friends. But that's the uniqueness and that's the greatness of America. And it has always been, and it is the one thing that the rest of the world looks at. Private transportation is absolutely critical, and we're going to eliminate the opportunity for 7 million Americans to have that opportunity.
There is an agenda that is being sold here. Reclaiming my time, in testimony we had before the Appropriations Subcommittee on Transportation that I happened to serve on, we've talked to our colleague our former colleague, about their vision, this administration's vision of the world they want us to live in. And they want us all to live in high-rise apartments and take public transportation. They will tell you straight out, that's the future of America. Concentrate. And there have been at least some of the administration who have said the days of the two-story home in the suburbs are over. I don't know if America knows that. And this is a perfect example, a part of the plan to drive us out of the suburbs and into concentrated population where the only solution is public transportation. And quite honestly, where I live, that's not going to be very popular.
No, and I agree with the gentleman, and I would tell you that I join in your fight. This is not only a fight that we must fight, this is a battle we must win. And I will fight with you every step of the way. We cannot continue to take a free and self-governing people and tell them not only what foods they can eat, what house they can live in, what light bulb they can use, or what car or truck they can drive. So I thank you for being a champion of the American people and the hardworking Americans that pay for every single thing that this government does. I thank you, sir.
And I thank you, Mr. Kelly. Representative Kelly, I will be glad to have you in the fight. You're a man I'd stand back to back with any day.
Thank you, sir. And I yield back my time.
And Mr. Speaker, we have been here talking about something that many of us realize is a shocking change of our world. It seems a small thing, but 54.5 miles per gallon, everyone will tell you the kind of cars we drive in Texas, which is pickup trucks, they can never get there. They can't gear and torque to get to that number, 54.5. Therefore, unless we pull the scam that was being talked about of every electric car offsets the pickup trucks, we're in trouble. So I yield back the balance of my time and thank the Speaker for his patience.
The gentleman yields back. Members are